Welcome back to Dumb Jocks. We're going to review the NFL for the NFC and AFC Norths previews. Which side do you want to start on?
Let's start with the NFC, which is a far less good division than
NAFSA.
the AFC. Okay. The NFC. I guess we'll go worst to first. You want to go first to worst this time? Change it up?
Worst to first. So who came in last in that division? The Bears?
The Bears. The Bears.
I think they're going to have a much better season than last year. I think that offense is probably going to get clicking a little bit better.
I think.
Yeah,
I don't think this year, the success of this year is measured in wins for the Bears. I think it's, does Justin Fields improve? Does Darnell Wright begin developing into a franchise tackle? You know, because they got so much money next offseason. They have so many draft picks next year. They're gonna probably have 2 top 10 picks.
Well, that is kind of where I'm at with them. Like, I don't think it's measured in wins, but I do think looking at that team and how it did last year, and with as long as their players progress, like what they do, they have 5 wins last year.
I think they have 4.
4.
They weren't good last year.
Yeah, and so I think they're right. I think they get right up around 500 this year, around 7-8 wins. So like,
I think if they win 5 games, but Justin Fields, we next year at the end of the year, we can confidently say Justin Fields is the franchise QB and Darnell Wright pans out as a pick. I think we'll say it was a success. They go in the next year. They have, I think, 2 first and 2 second round picks. They have plenty of money. They can really start plugging holes on that roster.
No, I agree completely. I think if Justin there are ways for them to only win 5 games with all that happening. Yeah. I just also think that if Justin Fields is actually able to establish himself as a franchise quarterback with their scheduling this year and everything, I think they end up 6, 7, 8 wins. Like, I don't think they break 500 this year, and I think that's where their picks next year and the money is going to be what takes them over that next year, and they're going to be one of those teams that goes from middling to competing. Yeah. Still don't think they're really going to win anything out of the gate like that, but I think that's kind of their path. They're going to go from worst, probably be 3rd in the division still, maybe 2nd.
I think they're going to be last in the division again.
You think they end up last again? I just think there's too much on that team for them to completely lose. Like, I think the NFC North is a very sleeper division.
I feel the same way about the other 3 teams in this division.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. I think every team in that division, basically, besides, I think the Lions have all the hype this year.
I think the Lions, and you know, we didn't know each other yet. Last May, I called Detroit. I think the Lions have too much hype this year. The only way they can live up to it is if they go like 20-0.
No. I think their hype. I think like 12 wins is a major win for the Detroit Lions.
I think a 10-7 season and a playoff in a wild card berth is a failure considering their hype. Like, I think it's gotten to that level where people are talking about them as the 3rd team in the NFC.
So I get what you're saying because of the hype. It might be looked at as a failure, but if you look at the Lions, that is a super successful season.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think it's give or take. Like,
but I think go back a few years when Cleveland had their 7-9 season. They got Odell that offseason. All the hype was they were going to go to the Super Bowl. They went. I want to say 8-8, 9-7, and it was a failure of a season.
So, but see, I agree. It's just a matter of also like, just like the Browns, like people. I understand people's aspects, like, oh, they're going to be one of the best teams in the league, make the NFC Championship game or this or that. I sit here and just have to remind myself it's the fucking Lions.
Yes.
So, like, as bad as it is, it's just a matter of you have to be reminded of, no matter what, them making the playoffs and getting a playoff berth, if they win the division, I don't think they've won the division in my lifetime.
They have not won the division. I saw it the other day. I think it's since 1992.
That sounds about right.
Which is,
so I was going to say, like, I know Stafford made the playoffs twice, I think, and I think they were both wild cards.
I think they were both wild cards where they were one and done.
Yeah, So I think for them, being able to win the division, period, simple, win. Because that's also, you know, people agree and disagree on it, but you kind of go into a year as a football team knowing, win my division, get the playoffs, then we keep moving.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it is win your division, and just keep going with it. So I think that the Lions have a great chance at doing that, But I also can see them winning the division and getting kicked down the wild card round versus the 7 or 8 seed. So, like, it doesn't. What is it? It's only 7 or 6.
6 or 7. I know what you meant.
As I said it, I was like, my math's not adding up.
I know what you meant, though.
But I think, like you said, I think the hype is what's going to let people down at one time.
I think another question I have, is the defense any better than last year? Like, I really like Dan Campbell, and I think him in the front office done a great job. Their offseason, their draft especially, I think I gave it an F.
Okay.
Like I think taking Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, I think that might have been the single worst value pick of the draft.
That makes sense to me. It could, like, yes, I'm just also,
because they were
I try
right
and give
there,
teams the benefit of the doubt.
They were right there at 6. If they wanted a running back, they could have taken Bijan. And at 12, there were so many guys you could have gotten that I think would have made a bigger impact on this team, whether it be a Nolan Smith or Christian Gonzalez or somebody like that you plug and play and they make a hole on your roster instantly better.
Yes.
And I mean, Brian Branch in the second round was a great pick, though.
Well, because I was going to say, too, like, I can't name you their second corner off the top of my head. I'm trying to go down, but I'm not thinking of the number 2.
I know they brought in Cam Sutton, and I cannot think of who else they had. They traded Okuda.
They did trade Okuda.
Who actually looked good the time he played last year. He did miss games with injury, though.
Yeah, I think he looks good when he's on the field. It's just also I feel like he's a very he's one of the people that very much so can't stay on the field for him. But like I don't like the running back pick necessarily, but also I think some of it is the fact that like they're hoping it just opens up more for their offense. I'm hoping they have some sort of idea. Like you said, they could have went Bijan Robinson. But they must have seen or saw something that they liked in Gibbs to think he was worth a first-round pick. We'll have to find out how they actually use him. It's also
a team that always, with Dan Campbell, they've always done a running back by committee kind of.
Well, so I think that was
you shouldn't spend the first-round pick on a guy who's probably going to be a role player for you, and probably not like Bijan. I'm fine with taking the first round because he's going to get 80% of your carries. I don't think Gibbs is going to have that, especially this year. Maybe next year.
I agree. I also think he's going to be looked at as more of the receiving back on that roster.
Yeah.
Because who's the other one? They got rid of Swift.
David Montgomery.
So I think he's going to be the one who gets the majority of carries. But I think passing downs and such is going to be a lot of where they put Jahmyr Gibbs in so they can run the good committee. And I think, too, I know running backs usually coming out of college is like hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I just also think this might set it up for Jahmyr Gibbs to have a longer career with them instead of being used like how Zeke's been used, Saquon when he came into the league, Dalvin Cook, you know what I mean? Like trying to give him some longevity to be there. You know, maybe they're trying to kind of feel like they're learning from a mistake for Barry Sanders, although, he was an anomaly and a god.
Yeah, he was.
So, like, definitely different.
I don't believe he was the same species you and I are.
But, you know what I mean? Trying to make it so they're on the team longer. I think, I don't think the defense necessarily improved, but I do think, like, Aiden Hutchinson on the line is going to be a better player this year to be able to destroy and disrupt an offense.
But I think this defensive line, they have nobody inside that scares you. They have nobody opposite. The Okora brothers are nice players, but they should not be.
They're nothing special.
They're not special. You shouldn't be relying on them. I think this is going to be a team, though. This defense is going to have weeks it looks dominant, and there's going to be weeks they're going to go up against. I don't have their schedule off the top of my head, but Green Bay's got a really good offensive line. Green Bay is going to slide their protection to whatever side Hutchinson's on. They're going to have a running back chip blocking. He's going to be one-on-one with David Bakhtiari, and I don't know if anybody else can get pressure on this team.
Yeah, I agree. And, like, thinking about all, like, now you brought up, like, them playing the Packers and stuff. Like, I know, like, the Lions, for instance, I know their start-off game, they played Chiefs Thursday night, week 1.
Yeah.
I don't think they win that game. I just think if they can keep that Kansas Chiefs offense to like under 28 and you can score 14 to 21
I
points.
feel you might take offense to this as a Patriots fan. I feel that going into Arrowhead at this point against Mahomes is the equivalent of coming to Foxborough.
No,
Brady.
it's exactly where it's at.
And on a night when they're dropping the banner, you have no chance of winning.
I agree, but I also can tell you, was that week 3 they dominated us? There was one year when the Chiefs came in here and absolutely fucking Alex Smith blew the doors off of us.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Kareem Hunt had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think that was Kareem Hunt's debut game.
Was that week 1?
That was.
I feel like that was us hanging a banner, and they came in and
I don't
us
believe
around.
that was. I think that was a Sunday night game.
Was it Sunday?
Okay,
Okay, so
Thursday.
it was the opening night. Okay, after
I could be wrong on that, but it was definitely a night game. I don't think it was a banner drop though.
That's what I was just trying to think of. But like that was a big one, and like I think it is the difference of it. If it's you putting up your banner and not kind of the mentality, your energy for week 1. But, like, I think, the Lions are a team that they have so much hype, as we were saying. But I do think they can still surprise some people. Because a lot of people are going to kind of be like me at times and just be like, it's still the Lions.
Yes.
So, like, there's a middle ground. But I see them winning this division. I think most of these division games end up getting split 1-1 every way. I think you have the Bears losing most of them, but I feel like they can find ways to sneak out wins there. So you want to go on to the Packers? I feel like we were transitioning kind of well.
There's one storyline with the Packers, and it's Jordan Love, and I do feel very sorry for the guy that this guy's first 3 years of his career. He didn't know if he was going to start. He didn't know if Rodgers was going to retire or whatnot. And now the story is, can you be Aaron Rodgers?
I don't look at it like that. I bet there is a bunch of people like that do. I just think that you just got to go out there and make plays. I never look at a player and think, all right, you have to be this guy. I want you to be able to play your game and succeed. And, like, right now, I like how the Packers have it set up. Like you said, they have a really good O-line. Protect the kid. Give him some time to think it out and look through it. I know I almost look at him as a new guy because he is to us a little bit like he's a new starter in the league.
It's almost his rookie year now.
But, like, right, and that's how it almost feels. Yet the man's been in the league for 3 years. This man has been playing with a lot of these kids for a little bit and, like, understands his offense because they haven't changed. They're still on Matt LaFleur.
Yes.
So, like, they haven't changed anything for him to be getting thrown new things or anything. And I think almost kind of like Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, the beginning of his career was a lot better than the middle and to the end. Like, yeah, he was winning MVPs and looking good, but there was a will at the beginning. And I think Jordan Love is going to be coming out with that will to prove and be good. It's just a matter of two. I feel like that team regresses a bit just because you don't have a player that you're putting, like a player that was putting the team on his back a lot with Aaron Rodgers. Like, he had a bunch of MVP seasons, but that was also the game plan. If you have a quarterback that good, use them. So now that they don't, it's a little bit different, more scheming maybe and more stuff, but it's still very concentrated on, like, protect. Like, I wish this is how my team was set up when Tom Brady left me. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I still had Jimmy G on the back burner in offensive line.
You can tell the Packers have been planning this for 3 or 4 years.
Well, they've just been sitting there waiting for Aaron Rodgers to retire. Like, I feel like they learned from, like, they did it with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Like, no, we got the next guy. You can go play games, and at some point we'll get rid of you when it gets really close to it. You know what I mean? Like,
it's actually a story. It might be the storyline I hated the most this entire offseason, that the Packers started the whole Rodgers fiasco when they drafted Jordan Love. But it was like every other Friday, Rodgers was talking about maybe he's going to retire, maybe not. Like, what are they supposed to do?
Not even something like that. You're a franchise that's trying to be good forever. Like, you're not trying to have to reset and be bad to get a good guy. Like, no, you want to be able to plug and play. Like, because also, like, most teams, your starting quarterback goes down, you feel like your season's over.
Yes.
Last year, I'm pretty sure out of the 32 teams, 14 of them had to start different quarterbacks.
That sounds right.
And I'm pretty sure the Dolphins had to start 3 different quarterbacks.
Yes.
So, like, depth at that position is starting to matter a little bit more with the extra game, I think. I think it's catching up to some players at times. And, like, I just think it ends up being this big thing that when your quarterback goes down, even if it's for 1 or 2 weeks, you don't want to feel like you're already out of a game before going into it. And I think the Packers set it up to the point where you don't feel out of a game. If Jordan Love's on the field, I don't count them out of anything yet. It's just a matter of I don't think they're going to be world dominators or look amazing. It's just going to be like you look like a good, competent football team that can be just under 500 or just above 500.
This is also, I have an idea forming here, and I'm not a psychologist, and I don't claim to be. I wonder if Aaron Rodgers, especially later on in his career, had the kind of I'm an all-time great attitude. You need to learn. You need to catch up to me, and that's why he didn't gel quickly last year with Christian Watkins, Romeo Dobbs. Excuse me.
Yeah,
and Jordan Love is not going to have that. He's going to work more with the young receivers. They're going to try to get up to speed quicker. I would not be surprised if this team does come out of the gates firing, and Jordan Love looks very good for a few weeks. And then the league will get tape on him, and we'll see what happens.
Well, so I was going to say, too, like how we said, it's like his rookie season. There's not a lot of film on him.
I did really like him coming out in the draft. I did really like him coming out in the draft. We'll say that. But let's move on to a team that won 13 games last year, got better this offseason, but I can confidently say is not going to win 13 games this year.
I don't think they win 13. I still think they're a double-digit win team.
I still think they're
I think they're right around that 8, 9, and 10 spot.
I think I had them when we did our predictions last week. I think I had them winning 10 games, being a wild card. The Vikings. Is this defense any better than it was last year? Brian Flores alone, I think, makes it better. But is the talent any better?
I don't think the talent's any better, but like you just said, I think they're going to be better schemed per se. Like I think on certain downs, they're going to be having better game plan.
I think they have a coordinator that can utilize everybody better.
Because like I know like the big stat of last year's stuff, they won 13 games, and I want to tell you
they had like 8 or 9.
I wanted to say it was 10. I wanted to say it was 10 one-score win games.
I'm sorry, even that regresses 5 games. You're an 8-9 team,
right? So I think like that's the big swing. I just also think like a lot of that offense is still there that was doing that, and I think as long as you have Justin Jefferson and a very I consider Kirk Cousins just above average for quarterback. And he gets him the ball. And I think Justin Jefferson, when you watch that man play, if you can just get the ball in his general vicinity with a corner, 2 corners on him, he wants it. He gets it.
He reminds me of, in a good way, when I say this, he reminds me of Antonio Brown, where he's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. But if you get the ball within 15 yards of him, he's going to catch it.
He had this catch rate is amazing. Like
he's got a wingspan of about 40 feet.
What team were they playing in? It wasn't the playoffs yet. Was it when the corner literally caught the ball and above him, and he literally grabbed it with one arm and took it.
I want to say that was Buffalo.
That sounds right. Yeah, it was Buffalo.
I'll never forget that one-handed catch where he fell and the ball he hit the ground, and it's just nature. You hit the ground, the ball's gonna pop free, and he just held it with one hand.
It was crazy. So that's been my biggest thing. I just feel like that Justin Jefferson, as much as people receivers don't win you games that much or anything, he looks like that guy that when you need it, he finds a way to get it. And this is his second year. No, this will be his third year in the league. Fourth year. And I think the biggest detriment to that offense is going to be the loss of Adam Thielen. But they drafted Jordan Addison.
I'm in the opposite mindset. I think the biggest loss is going to be Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, okay, because they won't have to play the box as heavy.
I think Jordan Addison is a very fine Adam Thielen replacement. I love Adam Thielen. He was not Adam Thielen anymore. And I think Jordan Addison can be a more explosive version of that, work the middle of the field for them. I don't think Madison can be Dalvin Cook, though. And I don't think this offensive line is one where you can just, like the Steelers a few years ago, just throw any running back in. They're going to produce.
I agree. I get what you're saying. I also think I don't think they're ever gonna. Because I think with the less thing, I feel like no matter what, Justin Jefferson's gonna find a way.
Yes, absolutely.
To get the look and get the ball. So, like, what that makes me really feel is they're going to really focus on Justin Jefferson this year in general. And, like, is it Alexander Madison?
Yes.
I think he's going to be fine. I think with them, in theory, taking one out of the box, making it 7-6, I feel like he can get through a couple of those. I think he can get – I don't think you're going to have an explosive, huge run from him at any point, really. Like, you might get 1 or 2. But I think most of the time he's getting you 5 to 10 yards. But, like, he's going to – he'll probably average under – probably be around 2.3 per carry.
I think it'll be about league average. It'll be at 4.2. I think was the average starter last year. I think that's
really 4.2 yards per carry last year. Damn, dude, I miss old football. I'd be running that ball down their throats. Fuck your big explosive plays. My gosh, if I can average 4 yards a carry, god damn.
All right, Mike.
No. Before we get off the Vikings, I got one training camp thing that's kind of gone on my nerves from social media.
Yeah.
Do you know who one of their new receivers is that they added this year? Used to be a Pat. I've seen so much hype on N'Keal Harry being this missing piece for the Vikings, a red zone threat. That's going to end up being their detriment. If they rely on that guy, they're going to go, it's something, they're just going to be detrimented. It's not going to go well.
I think he can be a reliable reliable being used. I think he can be a red zone threat. I think he was used wrong by the Patriots.
Oh, 100%.
I don't believe he is the athlete to be a number one receiver. He's a big body, though. He can separate fairly well, and he's got underrated hands to a point. I think he can be a red zone threat. I don't think he can be a guy on 3rd and 8. You give him a slant and tell him go 60 yards with this. I don't think he can.
No, never.
He's not that guy.
I think the only thing you can rely, not even rely. The only thing he can do is be your red zone threat. And thinking about it, okay, you got Jefferson. Say you're running the 3 receiver set: Justin, Addison, N'Keal Harry, and then you have Kyle Rudolph. A lot of them are going to get the main
Kyle
coverage.
Rudolph hasn't been there in 5 years.
I know. I said it.
They have T.J. Hawkins.
Yeah, I was going to say after I said his name out loud,
I was going as your
gone.
fourth option behind Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson. I think that's fine.
I think that's going to be fine. I just don't think. I don't see him being a missing piece for them.
Although
see how it helps.
Although T.J. Hawkinson in a Vikings uniform, that looks awesome. He looks like the logo. I think it's hilarious.
Looks like the logo. Can we just put his face on the helmet? That'd be
That's
funny.
what we should
just
do.
His helmet. Just his. Everyone else is the regular one on his. It's just his face. Oh, dude, I would have so much fun watching that game.
All
I would
right,
be
Mike.
laughing.
Predictions time. Division MVP this year. I think we might be going the same place.
Division MVP. Non-quarterback. I don't know why I can't.
All right,
it has to be
we'll
Justin
change the rule.
Jefferson.
It can be a QB. I'm going with Justin Jefferson too, though.
Yeah. The only person I see that competes with it is really only Kirk Cousins.
All right, Offensive Player of the Year. Cannot be the same as your MVP. That's just boring. I think I'm going to go with Justin Fields. I think he's going to show a lot of flashes this year.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Jamison Williams.
He's already suspended 6 games. I don't think he's
know.
going to show
that's
enough.
That's why that's who I want it to be. But I know there's so many other issues going on that it really can't be him. So that's why my mind's just stuck, and I'm like, oh, that's who I want it to be.
All right.
I wouldn't. So Justin Fields isn't bad. He's gonna get shown up. Maybe one of the Green Bay receivers really pops off.
I thought of
Christian Watson.
I thought of Christian Watson.
I don't think it would be Romeo Dobbs. So I'll go with Christian Watson.
My initial pick was going to be David Bakhtiari, but then I was like, they're never going to give a lineman that award.
Well, so I was going to say that one he could easily probably be the best player in the division for an offensive team, but it's going to be hard to know that production as much as it is, unless you look at it and it's 170 something snaps and 1 sack or something. You're like, that's ridiculous.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson. And I was really stuck between Hutchinson and Kenny Clark. I was really stuck between those
Kenny
two.
Clark's not bad. I was thinking of Lance Kendricks. He's still kicking on the Vikings, right? Who's their middle linebacker?
Eric Hendricks.
Eric Hendricks. Sorry. I felt like I didn't have the first name right. That's why I started describing him.
Liam Hendricks, a pitcher. I was like, what?
No, I said Lance.
Oh, Lance.
Which probably doesn't exist.
Not that I've heard of. I'm sure somewhere in the world it exists.
Well, I was going to say, not in our sports world.
Jair Alexander is a good pick.
I was going to say, corners are nice. I like my middle linebackers. I'm a very old-fashioned guy that I really do like that kind of play, especially now. If you're a guy who can get in there and also drop back, you're very, very useful on a team right now. You're a key part to a defense.
All right. Breakout player of the year. This is the one I'm giving to Christian Watson.
Okay.
Maybe N'Keal Harry wins it.
Well, so I was thinking Addison, but I feel like there's way too much hype.
I feel like you got to put him in the rookie of the year.
Okay.
Byron Murphy?
Who's Minnesota? A receiver on the Lions, dude? Who's one of the Ryan Williams? Who's the other guy? I'm not going to think of him right now. I can't
even think of Lions receivers right now.
I know, because there's so...
Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's already broken out, though.
Yeah, he's already, yeah.
We all know he's a stud.
Give me Cole Kmet.
Okay. I like that pick.
I think if Justin Fields is going to succeed and show us a lot of flashes, I think he's going to need to use that tight end, red zone wise, open field, check downs. I think Cole Kmet could be a big part of that.
There's a chance we both have a castaway wide receiver from our team. Vikings have N'Keal Harry, the Bears have Chase Claypool. Maybe it's one of them.
Yeah.
Although Chase Claypool already had a 10-touchdown season, so I don't know if he counts.
No, he'll count. He kind of fell off a little bit.
Okay. Did we do Rookie of the Year last time?
No, we are now, though.
Okay.
Jamar Gibbs.
Darnell Wright. It's Jameer Gibbs.
Okay.
Darnell Wright. I'll give it to a lineman here.
All right. I like it. I just know.
Sorry. These are unofficial awards that we'll give back out at the end of the year.
Those are both offensive. They got any good defensive rookies out there?
Defensive rookies.
I was trying to think of draft. I couldn't think of a lot of defensive rookies for them. We picked two offense. So I was like, oh, well, what about a defensive guy? And nobody's coming to my mind.
Brian Branch in Detroit. I think he's a safety, though. I think he's just going to be a guy nobody throws at, so I don't think people are going to know his name.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like their defensive those three teams. I think their defensive main points are very established and solid for a year or two, and it's a matter of this rookie class.
Andrew Booth was a rookie last year, but he didn't play because he got hurt. So does he count?
Yeah, what teams he play for?
Minnesota.
Then yeah, he'll probably be. He's probably one of the only guys I can think of.
Throw Andrew Booth's name in there, too. All right, let's go to the AFC North, which is the best division in the league, Mike?
Close.
To me, it's between this and the AFC East.
I think everything except the AFC South is pretty hard to not say the best division, because then we're doing the North, which is close. I think the West just always has that chance to be good, but you kind of already know how it pans out a little bit. So at the same time, it's not as
this division's unpredictable. You've got Cincinnati, Baltimore. We all know what those stand for. Pittsburgh and Cleveland are just kind of like wild cards. Nobody knows what to expect from them, Pittsburgh fans included.
See, Pittsburgh, I think you're just kind of locked in at 9-8.
Yeah.
You're locked in at least at 9-8.
But if I told you the Steelers got hot and they won 11 games, would you be shocked?
No, but that's what I'm saying.
But
I think your floor is 9-8. And I want to say your ceiling's the Vikings at 13 wins last year.
They're not winning. I think that their
Oh,
win range is 9 to 11.
But let's say they easily win 8 and they win 5 one-score games and sneak them out.
It's
That's
true.
your 13. You know what I mean? I'm just taking your Vikings approach to it. You know what I mean? Like that's I think their ceiling of like sneaking out a couple of games.
Cleveland's win range goes from like 6 to like 13.
Yes,
which is about a third of the season.
I was going to say they are the biggest one of
like Cincinnati.
Spain's
Cincinnati's
span.
a team I look at, and it's like, all right, yeah, they'll drop a game. They'll be 12-5 instead of 13-4. Who cares? Baltimore is kind of, if they stay healthy, there's no reason they couldn't win 12 games.
Yes.
But let's start in last place. Start with the Browns. And I think the only storyline I got here is Deshaun Watson still.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to need to find out this year. I remember watching this man as a rookie come into Foxborough Gillette and put up a fight against Brady. So, like, if he could still do it and still go, I'm not against it at all. It's just a matter of two. Been away from football for over a year.
Yeah.
He played a little bit last year, and, like,
he didn't look particularly good.
You saw a little bit of, like, what he used to be able to do, but not enough for you to be like, oh, this guy's a good, still one of the great quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yeah.
So I think that is really what it's going to come down to for them, because all your eggs
I
are in
got
that
no
basket.
question. I have no question about this offensive line. I have no question about their skill players. I've really no questions about this defense. But if Deshaun Watson is the Deshaun Watson we saw for the last third of last season, this team's going nowhere.
Yes. And like nowhere, still end up with 6 wins.
I think that would still go down as one of the worst trades in history.
Yeah, but what else do we expect that's what I expect for a trade like that. I think the only way to really justify it is winning a Super Bowl or like winning a division for a couple of straight years, or at least making the playoffs for 5 straight years or something like that. Like I think that's the only way to justify that trade in any way, sense, or form. But that's the thing too. Deshaun Watson is the player that if he plays how we have seen him play before, it could be worth it.
Yeah. Move up to my Steelers. Biggest story to me is the offensive line significantly improved. I don't know what you're seeing.
I think that's going to be very helpful. I'm very interested in the Pickens connection.
Yes.
That's what I'm very interested. I can't wait to see some of that go down. That's what I'm kind of really hyped for the Steelers season. I want to see if Pickett and Pickens can really start working shit together and dominate a team and kind of be that duo on that offense. I think like with the offensive line improvements, I think Najee is going to look a little bit better and hopefully open up some passing lanes.
Yeah.
Is the biggest thing I think to help the offense. And then on defense, I think you're still just dominating and stealing and just absolutely destroying that. So I think as long as TJ Watt stays healthy and you have that linebacker, I think your defense is going to look dominant and look scary.
Yeah.
You keep going. I'll be right back.
If TJ Watt gets hurt again, though, I think this team's in a bad spot. So, we saw last year Alex Highsmith. We all know he's good. A lot of people were surprised by his contract, but I know you and I both know how good he really is. But
talking to me or the camera?
Talking
that
to
was
you.
Pretty cool.
Talking to you. I think you and I both know how good Alex Highsmith really is. I know some people were surprised by the contract he just got. But I think we saw it last year without TJ Watt and with Cam Hayward missing time last year. He cannot be a true alpha on defense. He cannot carry a pass rush on his own like the other two can.
Yes, I agree completely. But like you said, I think as with a team that you have, if you have at least one of TJ Watt or Hayward on the field,
if you have at least one of them, yeah,
that other guy is going to be able to produce and you know what I mean? Like, he's not a star. He's not your game breaker necessarily, but he's such a good role player that can make plays and, like, break up a play every now and then.
He is. I heard this analogy the other day. I believe it was Brett Coleman that said, not about Alex Highsmith, but it applies to him, he is Robin, he's not Batman.
Yes. And I think in the NFL right now, I think your defense needs that.
And in the NFL right now, you need both Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I think you need two Batman and a Robin.
Yeah.
And then after Robin, you need all the gadgets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, defense is very, very difficult to get through right now.
Secondary is improved. I'm interested to see how quickly Joey Porter Jr. can get going. Corners usually have, a stretch of time in their rookie year where they're kind of getting beat all the time. So I don't love that he's already their number one. I think Patrick Peterson should still be getting that, as he is, a Hall of Famer and still playing very well.
Well, so do you know how you usually run your defense? Like, if he's your number one per se, he's going to be on the number one guy.
Yes.
He's probably going to be the one who gets the help, whereas you're going to leave Patrick Peterson alone with the number two kind of deal is how I see it. That way, let the guy get reps and verse the best receivers, and when he makes a mistake, which is bound to happen as a rookie corner, something's going to happen. You're going to make a mistake. At least most of the time, you'll have the help for the safety to allow him to make the mistake and learn from it. Because that's what I think comes in ginormous for corners, is that you need to learn from your mistakes when it happens. You're going to make them. It's going to happen, but you need to learn from them and know how to stay with your receiver. And even if he catches the ball, just tackle him. You know what I mean? No run after catch, no extra yards, get him down. And I think he looks fine. I think he'll be able to do that. It's just a matter of how bad are some of the mistakes at times. Where do they come from? Yeah. What game is it? How close is it? How big of a mistake will it be?
Yeah. I also think it was hilarious that their over-under right now on DraftKings is 8.5 wins because nobody's going to bet on Mike Tomlin to have the losing season.
Well, so that's what's
crazy. But also,
crazy.
can you tell me this team's going to win 9 games?
Right. It's 8.5 because that's the exact reason. People sit there and go, there's no way this roster should be able to go out there and win 9 games as easily as we think. But then you look at Mike Tomlin, you go, the man's never had a losing season.
If there were ever years he was going to bottom out, it was 2014. They started 0-4. 2019 when he lost Ben Roethlisberger in week 2, and they started 0-3. And last year they were 2-6.
I was going to say last year was the big one that surprises me out of all of them, that got them completely on track after such like a crazy start. What was it, 2-6 you said, and then they ended up. Then they went on a streak of like
2-6. They had some non-competitive games against Buffalo and Philadelphia where they just didn't even look like they belonged on the field with them. But
and
I mean,
no offense, I feel like those are a couple of teams right now that
are going
to make the middlers look like they don't even belong in the league, which is like,
I will say, I did think that was a media overreaction when they got blown out by Buffalo to be like, they're not even competitive. And it's like, no, they faced a far better team. They've been competitive with everyone else this year.
No, right. And I think that's the social media and public's overreaction because, yes, I look at my Patriots teams and, there's times where we play a really good team and we'll probably play the Eagles and it might not look that competitive week 1. But, I'm not going to sit there and be like, a season's over. You know what I mean? How people feel like, you're not competitive. Season's done. Season's over. It's like, no, it's one game at a time kind of deal. If you end up being in the playoffs and you can just get 4 straight, or 1, 2, 3 straight even.
Yeah.
No, it's 4.
But I've always said what happens in week 1 does not matter unless you lose a home game to a division rival. That's the only time it matters.
Yes. And I feel like they've been doing a really good job that it's not a ton of division games on week 1 this year.
Yeah.
Might just be me saying it because it's the first time in 5 years I'm not playing the Dolphins week 1. But guess what? Playing week 2, baby.
Oh, yeah. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens. One of the most bizarre playoff teams in recent memory last year. They went in on their third-string quarterback, and they almost beat the Bengals. One of the weirdest games I've ever seen. Big stories, Lamar Jackson. Can he stay healthy? And can this team win close games? I feel like every year last year we saw them, they would lose on a last-second field goal or they would blow a 2-score lead. And are these receivers actually as good as they're supposed to be?
Well, I think I'm not going to say they're as good as they're supposed to be. Just because, I don't think Odell's Odell.
No.
Is it Bateman that's still there?
Rashad Bateman.
I think
I have no
he's
questions
fine.
about Mark Andrews. I think Rashad Likely is the best number 2 tight end probably in the entire league.
Isaiah Likely?
Yeah.
You call? Oh, okay. I feel like you said a different name. I might have just been tripping.
I don't know.
But I think they do. I do think they have one of the best double tight end duos right now in the league with Mark Andrews and then second-year tight end Isaiah Likely. I think he looks great. I think the games that Mark Andrews missed, Isaiah Likely, I'm pretty sure he went like 15 catches, 180-something yards, and 3 touchdowns on the games Mark Andrews was out for 2 games. So, like, I think that's going to be lethal. I just, like you said, I feel like no matter what, I don't think the receivers are going to live up to the hype of what you think they're going to be. But I do think that this is probably some of the best Lamar's going to get with how he plays. I don't think you can give him a super star receiver the game that he plays for it to work out as nicely. Although I think he can throw the ball super well. It's just a matter of the way he plays and is used. I don't think it's the most helpful.
And that might be the bigger overarching story is, can Lamar's instinct change at this point to be first read's not there, second read's not there, run? Can he change it to first read's not there, second read's not there? What about third read?
Yeah, I need him to be able to go through in theory 4 to 5 progressions. I don't mind if it's when you're rolling out. You know what I mean? He can have to move the pocket or whatever and try to find somebody, but I do want him to pass first, run when necessary. But I also think that how they run and scheme things up, I feel like a lot of times it is get through the first 2 reads. If nothing's there, start moving. Like, I think that's what's coached to him right now.
I think that's why Greg Roman was let go. Although I will say the idea that he was a bad coordinator is a little bit ridiculous. This dude did design the scheme that won Lamar an MVP.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad. I think with where it is now, they did need a change.
I don't think he's bad. I think his scheme, the people caught up to it, and he didn't adjust.
Yeah. Because, like, the big thing with them is you don't want to do it every play. You don't want to do it even half the time. But I think your biggest thing is moving the pocket with Lamar. Yeah. He can throw over guys. He's not, like, no offense to some other quarterbacks, but like Kyle Murray or Drew Brees, who are very short guys. This man has height. He can see. So, like, I don't mind him in the pocket a lot, and I want him thrown out of the pocket. I want to see him being able to make little moves in the pocket to keep it alive without needing to leave the pocket, because I feel like that's a lot of his game is running around and leaving the pocket, which, like, it's okay, but at some point it does catch up to you, injury-wise, getting hit-wise, doing all that yourself all the time.
I will say I don't think he has the arm Kyler has, and I don't think he is the mind Drew Brees was.
I agree. No, I agree. I was just trying to, because don't get me wrong, Drew Brees much better than Lamar in so many ways, shapes, or forms. I was just using it as an example of, like, people always complain about moving the pocket or stuff for small quarterbacks. This is what you're going to have to do, blah, 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 blah. Lamar's big enough that that's not a necessity. It's not a need. It's something you can do. It's just not a necessity like for some other quarterbacks, as it has seemed in the past for people who play with that style.
Moving along to the winners last year of the AFC North, the Bengals. We'll get to Joe Burrow in a second. Their biggest loss to me was definitely Jesse Bates, who I think is probably in the running for most underrated defensive player in the league.
I was going to say was very
goes to Atlanta, has been very good for 5 years. Goes to Atlanta on a deal that surprised some people. I think they don't watch a lot of safeties then, because I think he is. If you want to talk about best safeties, he's not the range of Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's not the run defender Derwin James is, but he's 80% of both, and I think that's the third best safety in the league.
I put him top 5. I still think Jamal Adams healthy and going.
I got to see. I feel about him. I need to see him do it. I'm not questioning his talent. I need to see him do it
because we haven't seen it.
You give me a fully healthy Michael Thomas, I think he could be a top 10 receiver, but I haven't seen a fully healthy Michael Thomas in 4 years.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Kevin Byard's up in that conversation, but I think I would put Jesse Bates third.
Yeah, like I think he's right there. That's why I said, I think no matter what, if you're actually going through the safeties, he's top 5.
Yeah, if he's not, you're ranking.
You know what I mean? Somebody's
if he's not,
up.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but if he's not in your top 5, you did it wrong.
I don't like your rankings.
if he's not in your top 5, it's wrong. You can debate Minka Derwin for 1 and 2. You're wrong if Jesse Bates isn't there though. But Joe Burrow, I mean, these injuries are piling up on him. He hasn't had a normal offseason yet as a QB. Comes up, he's a rookie. That's the COVID year. Last year he has the appendectomy, and this year he has a knee. Was it a knee or a hamstring injury?
It was just a knee. They didn't completely say hammy, from what I remember. But also, like, I think it's a bitch, but at least it's early in the season. He's gonna do as much as he can now before some real games and just get it as ready as possible.
I know the offensive line last year was significantly better than the offensive line the year before. This offensive line still needs to get better.
Well, so I think
if this offensive line doesn't get better, this is going to be Andrew Luck. He's going to retire in 5 years.
So I'd hate that.
I would hate that too.
But my thing is with them is, I think right now every team's going to have a weak spot, and I think that's where they have the quarterback. They have so much money into the receivers because, like, I don't want to say so much money, but they have by far the best receiver.
They have a lot of capital invested. Tyler Boyd's a second-round pick, T. Higgins a second-round pick, Jamar Chase a first-round pick.
Yeah, and I think I think that's disgusting.
Yeah.
But yes, if your quarterback's dying out there, it's not really going to do you any good. But that's there has to be a weak spot somewhere, and I think that's kind of where they're choosing it. But also, I feel like they're trying to at least get the major things. I think they got a tackle somewhere this year. They signed a tackle.
I don't recall a lot of their offseason. I only have Lyle Collins back, I believe.
I feel like they did something for the left tackle, but I could be wrong.
But I think we even saw week 1 last year when they faced Pittsburgh. I mean, Joe Burrow got sacked.
Well, I think
5 or 6 times.
I was going to say, I think that's the scariest thing too.
That's the team you're facing twice a year.
That whole division is about fucking up your quarterback.
I mean,
you know what I mean? The Ravens just signed Javadian Clowney the other day.
Clowney, yeah.
So, I think no matter what, that division, their defense is, I'm killing your quarterback. If I can hit him before he throws the ball, he's not throwing the ball. Yeah. If I can get in the way, I'm getting in the way. I think that's the real thing with that division is that their defenses are coming at you at full speed, at full, that's what they want to do to you. I still think they win the division.
I do too. I just think if this team gets late in tight games with Pittsburgh and the AFC North games are always tight, I trust the Steelers defense more than the Bengals to have a player just knock the ball out of Burrow's hand.
Okay. I agree, but I also think, like you said, the Ravens went into almost beat the Bengals with a third stringer.
Yeah.
It ends up being those division games are literally dogfights every time. No matter how good one team is and how bad another team is, that shit's usually a dogfight.
I'll never forget the Steelers the Steelers going to overtime with the Ravens with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, getting hurt halfway through, and then Devlin Hodges played.
Yeah. Duck Hodges, dude. I remember that.
One of the greatest players in history. One of the most interesting players in history.
And
what a bizarre human he was.
I think it's crazy. I'm a big Duck Hodges guy.
Me too.
I was like,
if he was ever a coach, I'd want him. If I was ever a coach, I'd want him on my staff. He was basically Gardner Minshew, but the league was ready for it. He's just such a bizarre. He's such a bizarre human.
Gardner Minshew, but Minshew took all the craziness of it, and then it was just kind of all right, we get what's going on now.
Gardner Minshew was Duck Hodges before we were ready for it.
Yeah.
I love Gardner Minshew. But predictions time, Mike. Division MVP.
TJ Watt.
I was going to say Joe Burrow.
That's fine.
Offensive Player of the Year.
Jamar Chase.
George Pickens.
Nice. He's going to be my breakout.
Fair enough.
This is where I was at.
Defensive player of the year. I'm going to say DJ Reader.
I think I'm sticking with you, dude. I think your defense is going to be the main focal point of your team and say Casey Hayward.
You mean Cam Hayward?
Cam Hayward, sorry.
Okay. Breakout player of the year. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman.
I think I want Pickens.
Okay. What are the odds all four of these teams go to the playoffs? Like, I think that's a
25%.
I think that's a distinct possibility.
I think right now, I'll give it 30.
I was going to say like 10% chance, which is higher than every other division in the league.
I was looking at it as their 30. I want to give the AFC East about 25. And then split the 55 between the last two.
Well, the South and West are going to be dragged down by the fact the Raiders and Broncos are in the West.
Well, so that's why, too,
and
I think it's kind of like
South.
0-0.
Yeah.
But then, it's just a matter of.
But then,
because now I think it's okay. I understand. I was doing the math wrong.
Because you can't count out
I'm
the Chargers.
thinking that, like you said, 5-10%. Just because you're telling me that with all their games, the Browns or the Steelers are going to technically beat out either the Dolphins or the Jets.
The Dolphins, the Jets, the Chargers. A lot of people think Tennessee's just going to curl up and die. I think Tennessee's going to be a factor in this race.
I think Tennessee ends up at 9.
I think what you need to do is every team to split, go 3-3 in the division, and then they each go that'd be 6-5 rest of the year. Win at least 6 games, go 9-8.
I don't think 9-8. 9-8 can sneak you in.
But I think if you're in a conference like this, everybody's going to beat the crap out of each other. I mean, one of the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Steelers, the Browns, the Bengals, the Ravens. Some of those teams are going to be below 500 this year.
Yes.
Which is crazy when you consider some of those teams I just mentioned could win the NFC North, could win the entire NFC.
Well, so that's also it too. That's why, I think it's like 5-10 because the point is you're getting to a point where I think we're having 3 to 4 9-8 teams that are fighting for the one spot, just like last year, and it comes down to your tiebreakers of
who wins what game.
So I think it's there's a percentage of it happening, but I think also that means the Browns, for instance, have to beat the Dolphins or have to have the tiebreaker over the Dolphins to be able to sneak in, which is where I think the biggest problem is going to come into play of getting every team in. We've only had it happen once, right? The NFC West?
Never happened. All 4 teams got in. It's only been 7 teams for a few years.
You're right. I thought it was the first year, but no. It was the
it's
year
happened
before
where
that. It was the NFC West was the.
It's happened a few
Rams,
times where 3
Niners,
teams.
Seahawks,
I want to say 2015, the Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals all went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen often, or didn't happen often, but happened a few times.
I think with the new addition, I
want to say the NFC East did it at one point too, early 2010s.
I know the NFC West did. I know for
NFC West was the last one to do it in 20.
That's the one I remember the most.
2019,
It was right before they changed.
2020.
Because it was Rams, Niners, Seahawks.
Was it the Cardinals or the Seahawks?
I think it was the Seahawks.
One of the bird teams. That's all I got. What about you? Anything else?
No, I think it's going to be an interesting dogfight for your NFC North or AFC North. I think those games are always interesting, and I think where the league is now for the AFC, I think it makes those games so much more important for every team on there. Because the only team without their defined franchise quarterback is your Steelers.
Yeah.
We're seeing what Kenny Pickett can do. He's not the defined guy. And, Deshaun Watson's looked at as a franchise quarterback in theory from other teams. And, if the Browns are going to give up what they gave up for him, they look at him as a franchise quarterback. Just a matter of if he can actually play like that again.
I got a weird hypothetical.
Shit.
Steelers and Browns are the two least talented teams in this division, and I said that very loosely. If we took them, put them in the NFC North, and switched the Bears and the Vikings, switch the Bears and Packers, are the Steelers and Browns instantly the favorites in that division?
I think your Steelers are.
Okay.
I want to say Steelers, Lions, Vikings, Browns.
All right, that's all we got for today. We'll be back with the Souths sometime next week.
We are the North!